From Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
What's up, everyone? Tuesday, June the 18th, am I
18th.
right?
18th.
It is.
They're
Emily
starting to blur
Gagnon.
together a little bit.
Yes, here with the beautiful Ellie Parker. I told her today we are the Fire coming your way.
Red and
'cause I'm in
orange.
orange. She's in red. We are rocking it today. Probably just as much as the Celtics are rocking it right now. After winning the NBA Finals last night, they were crowned champions. The Mavs won one of the 5 games they played. Yeah.
So boring.
Yeah, it
This
wasn't
was
much
boring.
of a series, but
Wasn't much of a series.
I was happy. Honestly, I was happy to see the Mavs in it because it was a different team, right? Like, I like seeing different teams in these championship games. It isn't who you thought was going to be.
That is true.
In that game, but yeah, they didn't put up much of a fight against a Celtics team that was very determined to win after the last few seasons where they were so close and were sent home packing by other teams. Super happy for Jaylen Brown. Obviously, he's from here. He has that famous story where one of his teachers, I think, told him he wasn't.
He was too smart to play basketball. Man went to Cal, has lectured at Harvard.
Yeah. And look at him now. I mean, he won MVP.
NBA champion.
Yep. So
I believe
good for
at
him.
one point he had the richest contract in NBA history for all of 2 days.
Yep. Well, hey, it's more than I can ever say that I've done. So yeah, that was an exciting night for Boston Celtic fans. I know that Fred Campagna was very happy last night. I don't know if you have any thoughts on the game. You thought the series was boring. I did too. But like I said,
So
I do
boring.
think this has been a lot of pent up energy for Boston.
The most interesting part of the series was Brian Windhurst ripping into Luka after Game 3.
I mean, yes. Luka, you can tell how badly Luka wanted it,
Yeah.
but I think that he, I don't know, he didn't probably go about a lot of things pretty well, and he'll probably learn
Yeah.
a lot. He's still a super young player and a superstar in
Yeah.
the league, and something tells me this won't be his last
No, it won't.
championship. So I think this will be a nice learning experience for one of the league's best young superstars.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he'll be able to apply that, in another run that they make. I don't know if Kyrie plans on staying in Dallas. I don't know what that contract looks like. But, yeah, I definitely think Boston's a serious contender. And if they stay with or stick with the team that they have now, and we'll kind of see. But Luka's definitely the one who drives that team.
All right. The NBA doesn't stop because the NBA draft is next week. And the
doesn't
Hawks somehow got the number 1 pick.
They have the number 1 overall pick as of now. We do know that, and that's as of now, Ellie. This could change 3 minutes from now.
Don't
But
jinx it.
Landry Fields told us that he plans on keeping the pick. So, for right now, the Hawks plan on using that number 1 overall pick. That tells me they know exactly who they're going to pick. This year, there's not the biggest
It's not a
group of
particularly
superstars.
deep draft, nor is there a guy who's
Clear
this
cut.
is obviously the number 1 pick.
Yeah. So, and this would be the year that not the Braves, I apologize. The Hawks get the number 1 overall pick. This is just their luck. However, let's see what they do, with it a week from now. But let's hear from Fields, who explains a little bit of the process of what they're going through.
Of course, the summer league play will take place a few weeks down the line. Will there be any expectation with whoever you guys take with that pick to play in summer league ball? And have you had any commitment so far from some of the younger players, Kobe and such?
Yeah, so a few of our guys currently will play summer league. Mo, Kobe. We had Dylan Windler on a 2-way, so he'll play with us as well, although he's becoming a free agent. But yeah, the expectation is whoever we draft will play in summer league.
As far as who you've had in for workout, sorry to go back to that, but has anyone blown you away that you're just kind of that's very close to being the guy that we want?
A few different guys, yes.
How do you kind of along that line? How do you sort of integrate what happens in a individual or a one-on-one workout versus what you see on film over a very large sample size?
Yeah, I like that question because a guy can come in here and not be great, and I still would make sure our group is really looking at the whole picture. And we have so many different assessment tools for us that it doesn't come down to 45 minutes to an hour of a workout. But it's helpful. It's always just nice to kind of feel their energy amongst the rest of the group and the front office and the coaches and whatever players are here. So it's a nice piece of data, but it doesn't come down to just that.
A lot of these top guys are international prospects and everything like that, playing in France, Australia, whatever it is. How do you, what type of hurdles does that come in scouting? It's not as easy as just going down to Duke or North Carolina, whatever it is, and talking to coaches like that.
It's really not that much of a hurdle, frankly. It's, as long as you're willing to get on a flight and go see some guys or turn on, some medium where you can watch them, it certainly helps. I think it's great because the game has just morphed and evolved to a number of different parts of the world. So dating back in time, you build out for that, right? Like you have an international scouting group and you consistently bring them into the process and really lean on what they're seeing and what they're hearing out there. And then you get on a flight and you go see some different players.
And how does it change having to see a guy, or not recruiting a guy, but scouting a guy who's playing against in a professional league, whether it be in Europe, compared to the college game?
Yeah, it's definitely how are you evaluating the context, right? College, high school, overseas, G League, they're all different contexts. So how can you look at that as a group and then weigh that with the type of player and projecting them out? Like if it means this in this context, will it mean the same in this one? Questions like that. It's a good question though.
Going back to the exit interview, Trey had said, wants to win here, but he wants to win first. Throughout this offseason, what have those conversations been like with him in that regard for his future?
Really, it's just been about, one, his development for our future. Like, what are the things that he's going to improve upon, things that he's going to, do the same, things that are going to help us be at our best, because just like his opinion is the same as mine. Like, we want to win too, and we want to do it in a way that's not just like a flame. Like, we want to have sustainability here. So a lot of the fit and me hammering that is really important to that.
Is drafting a player number one overall give you the ability to be a win now team?
I don't know about that. I think that having number one is a great position for us. It doesn't really change our landscape too much. It's something that's connected to where we're at, but at the same time, with so many things that change in the NBA at large, you really want to look at this pick as an opportunity to, one, find the fit, and then find really high upside guys.
How do you blend the timeline of the players that you already have on the roster with the projected timelines of these guys that you might pick at number one, and how do those projected timelines weigh on your decision?
Yeah, it's quite an art form. I think especially with a new cap environment, when you bring that into the mix and you're looking at your 2-year, 3-year, 4-year outlook, and of course things change all the time, you're really weighing a lot of that. And it's a constant discussion about where's this guy at in his development, what's the age, what from a contractual standpoint, will he be up extension eligible or free agent? You're constantly having those conversations, and then you bring in where this pick is at. How does that factor into the mix? So I don't think there's anything that's always going to be perfect, but you definitely want to try to build out in a way that helps you continuously take wave after wave after wave.
Do you plan to bring any more people in, or are you kind of?
We do.
Okay. I'm saying, what's the next week look like for you? A couple more visits, and then what's
Yep.
a week in the life of this front office?
We are going to have more visits, more phone calls, more conversations. We'll sit as a group, as we have done, and really dive deep into every single player. I think that's what's been really fun about this process, is just how deep you can go with certain guys. And that's probably what our week is going to look like until we get closer to the draft, where start to funnel it down to a point.
How close do you would you say you guys are to a final decision, and who's going to make the final decision?
We're closer. There's still some things that we're going to look at this week with guys that are coming in and weighing those data points, but we're much closer than we were, say, 2 weeks ago at the combine. And ultimately, you'll see me raise my hand and say, "We'll pick that guy."
So you'll make the final decision.
Yes.
Okay. Not Tony. It'll be you.
It'll be me. Yes, sir.
I guess to that end, how do you feel about the idea that you'll be judged very significantly based on how this pick turns out?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It doesn't really bother me, frankly. I really enjoy our process that we've built out and the people that we've done it with. So, at the end of the day, you will all be the judge of whether that was the right pick or not. For me, it's more looking at where are we at, what was our process, how are we assessing this current player, and just rolling with it. But that is, it is what it is. I'm just fortunate to be in this position.
Are you sleeping pretty well?
Oh, like a baby. On less sleep, but like, you know.
Landry, has your approach over the years to preparing for the draft changed at all? And like, do you look back to your first draft and how you prepared to now and just how different it is?
Yes, yeah. And I think it runs parallel and consistent with the words that you'll probably continuously throw up when I keep saying it about evolution and development, looking at our process. And when we get through it on this one, we'll go back and say, okay, how can we get better? What does continuous improvement look like for this process or this player? So I would hope that I would always answer that. And yes, it looks different now. I don't know how much to a varying degree, but it just runs consistent with a lot of the words and things that we're preaching here.
I know you guys weren't expecting to pick at one, so in this process of having a deep dive on so many different guys you weren't expecting to and stuff like that, what's been the biggest, I don't know, surprise or something maybe you didn't expect in having to be in this situation, doing all this deep dive work?
Well, the pick was definitely a surprise. Those were some odds that, you know, you obviously could beat because it wasn't 0%. But no, didn't necessarily expect it. But I think the biggest surprise outside of that, nothing too surprising. I've more so been encouraged by just kind of how we've gone about it, and it kind of puts you in a position too to where you reflect on where you're at, and it's nothing that's necessarily changed. If we had the first pick, the 10th pick, it would have been the same process. We would have spent hours in that room over there and done deep dives into different players. So I think it's really cool to honestly kind of see a helpful lens from that perspective on where we're currently at as a group and how we're operating.
So just to follow up on that, because the odds were so low to get it, were you telling your guys, hey, don't waste your time on the picks that could go 1 through 5 because we're probably not going to get there, or do throughout the process, like, we got to treat every slot the same because you just don't know?
No, you just don't know. Like, yeah, regardless if it's 3% that you'll have this pick or 95%, all the data points beforehand and the work that goes beforehand, like, you have to do to account for this. I don't want to be sitting here one day and be like, oh, we didn't see that player. Like, it makes me cringe thinking about that. So, no, we'll treat every player until somebody says, like, that's not it, or we can't do that, as if we're going to be able to pick them. Because guys fall in the draft too, based off of projections.
From a fan's perspective, overall #1 picks in this market are kind of rare. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking Chipper Jones and Michael Vick in various sports. And here we are talking about them years later. Is that your hope, that whoever you pick is an Atlanta institution and lifts the franchise for a decade or more?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like, make my job with you a lot easier.
With the draft outlook and just how picks kind of stack up next year, the year after that, how do you avoid sort of the pressure of trying to get this pick right?
I guess kind of tied to that question, you avoid the pressure by doing your work. If you do all the right work beforehand and you come to the point of decision, you make the decision and you live with it. And part of living with it is trying to enhance player X, and 2, you know, based off of everything that comes about, using that as an opportunity to reflect on it and find out ways in which you can make even a small gain for the next time. So I think when you have that, for me personally, because it ties into that earlier question, when you have that perspective and that paradigm rolling through your mind, it really alleviates it, because it's almost like a can't lose type of deal, although I understand traditional results for sure. But if there's an evolution, whether we had, and even if you had success too, like, you would do the same process.
How much do you consider the fact that you are out some picks in the future, like the ones with the DeJounte trade, et cetera?
Yeah.
Like, does that play into the thinking at all as far as making mistakes, trading the pick, like future planning?
It's a factor. You have to factor that. You know, when you're not, like, able to project out, well, if you do this, you'll have this level of pick. I mean, it's all part of our strategy building process.
What are the off-the-court intangibles that play into this pick, and how do you kind of determine those when meeting with players?
Without getting into our full-blown things that I've talked about, like unselfishness, humility is a big one, having a grit factor to you, BBIQ, because I've talked a lot about that. I know that's on court, off court, but there are components that that really go into a growth mindset as well. You know, in the theme of development, you kind of have to have that. Like, you did well, you didn't do well, why not? What is your action to do now based off of that? So when you dig into the intel on these guys and you have a number of different sources that help you out with that, you're better able to determine what that looks like for a player and project out, because you're going to need that. Like, you're going to have somebody that is able to push through and have a growth mindset.
When you bring somebody in for these workouts and they play the same position, do you work them out the same way, or do you work them out like, hey, there's something that might be off with that player, we want to see that in person?
We'll tailor workouts more to the context of the player, for sure. Yeah.
Are you bringing most of these guys in, or will you travel for these pre-draft workouts? Are they all exclusively here, or do you go travel, to wherever?
We'll do both.
Do both.
We'll do both. Yep.
Can you give us a thumbnail on Alex Sarr, kind of what you see in him?
He's a good player, projected pretty high from what I hear. Has a lot of the tools that you would want at the NBA level.
Do you see in him, I think what you hear a lot is, really strong defense. The offensive where he's at right now is not quite there. Do you see in him the capability to become an effective elite offensive player?
I think with whether it's Sarr or any other guy, you're going to see some areas that they're going to have to grow in. So I like, for guys that we bring in, I'm going to think very highly of that they can reach their ceiling.
How unusual will it be, if assuming you keep the pick, to if we're picking lower, is our guy still going to be there? You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
It's a different headache that's gone away.
If so, you're saying if we had a lower pick?
Yeah. I mean, in the past, you might have to say, I hope our guy is here when we pick at 5 or pick at 10 or pick at 20.
Yeah.
But now you don't have to worry about that.
No, you don't. Yeah. No, and if you're in that situation where, like, do you want to move up to try to get him? Like, there's going to be different scenarios to go through. But no, like, that's the beauty of being in the number 1 slot.
All right, Landry Fields, Hawks GM, ahead of the 2024 NBA draft happening next week, where the Hawks, as of now, are keeping the number 1 overall pick. Ellie, let's move on. What we got?
The Braves actually won a game last night, for once.
Yes, they've won 4 of their last 5, so it does appear that they're on the
Does
up
appear
and
that
up.
does appear that they're on the right track again.
Of course, the bad news is Michael Harris is second. He's on the DL, hamstring injury. So the Braves right now are missing 2/3 of their outfield. But guys are trying to step up, trying to fill those spots. Today, manager Brian Sinker talked about how you really can't replace those guys, right?
Yeah.
But you certainly try to get guys in there that can, or who can make plays for you and hope it works out. So. Yeah, they beat the Tigers last night. They won their series against the Rays over the weekend. Certainly something they needed. Jared Kelnick talked about how just being home in front of the home base gave them a boost. And he said that over the weekend. And 2 of the 3 games, he's the one who started the scoring frenzy for the club. He's been a great addition, a great
especially
addition.
at a leadoff spot.
Yeah, and he's young, so he. Alex Anthopoulos just has this great radar for young, up-and-coming talent, or wanting to get guys who, maybe other clubs aren't interested in, and he's doing it with Kelnick. Great addition to the club, but 7:20 first pitch for Game 2 against the Tigers. Let's hear Snit ahead of the game.
Some growth with the addition of that, 2-seamer and stuff. Does he just feel like he's got an advanced IQ, pitching IQ?
I think so. He's got a really good feel. It's just about, them kind of getting together with his pitch mix a lot. He's got a good assortment, good arsenal. A lot of it, I love his just the mound presence and I think the confidence and, there's a lot to like there. And plus, the stuff's really good.
Seems like he's a little more advanced than some of the others as far as like what you're talking about.
Just, command, all the strikes that he throws with more than one pitch. The other day, he could have gave up 1 run in that game very easily against one of the better hitting teams in baseball. And I think it's just a matter of time, experience, things like that. But he's certainly got to step up on a lot of guys, at a young time in his career.
Even from his first start till his most recent one, have you seen him make progress in
Yeah.
other ways?
No, I have. I mean, I think just the way they're using his stuff and kind of, going not so much going for kill shots all the time and using his sinker and change up and just his whole assortment, I think, has been really good. I mean, he competes really well. Just things quite, haven't gone perfect or quite right for him, but I really like where he's at, and I've been very impressed with the young man.
He was saying that Cranny, Sal, and the catchers kind of urged him to bring that sinker back. Kind of what does that maybe just say about the feel that some of your coaches and your guys have?
Well, yeah, and I think that's just, as they get to know him and the guys catch him and they see things, and like I say, with pitch mix, things like that, they'll be good for him in that respect, because they know the league a lot better than he does, and they all been doing it a lot longer than he has. And but with his feel and everything, I mean, I see him very in there talking to him between innings, and he's got a good feel for things.
You talked about a lot of the conversations he's had with guys like Murphy and Sale and Morton. How beneficial is it to have the specific set of veterans you have?
No, it's that you can't. I mean, that's probably the best advice and everything he can get out of those guys with that kind of experience, and he appears to me to be a kid that's going to be, asking a lot of questions of those guys, and it'll be good for him, and it's a good group for him, of guys for him to bounce things off of.
Your outfield was different than it did on opening day. Your thoughts on how they may have to step up as you guys fight off the injury bug?
Yeah, no, it's just one of the things you have to deal with, and I say we're using all the depth, that's for sure, and giving a lot of guys opportunities, and we'll just kind of keep mixing and matching, and somebody gets hot, they're going to get an opportunity to play, and I think no matter how we go, I think we're still a really good defensive outfield, even with losing, a guy like Michael, and I mean, he and Ronald are elite defenders. It's hard to replace those guys, but I think with the guys in the mix we have opportunity to still have a really, really top-notch defensive outfield.
So with those guys, Kelvin can scoop, Walt can scoop, and Duvall has power. You still have the elements of
Yeah, no, very much so, and they all throw and can do something. Jared's holding his own, doing a really good job leading off, and like you say, with Adams' power, Ramon is a very, very good defensive outfielder with a above average arm. And if Forrest gets on, I mean, he can create some havoc with his speed.
Can you talk a little more about the depth, and obviously Forrest last night, having different guys in different places, seeing so many guys step up in big moments?
Yeah, well, I said that's the one good thing is you guys get an opportunity to do something really good, and we've been some cycling guys through, trying to find a mix and give guys opportunities, and it's glad we have people to choose from, that are in house, because it's kind of rough spots to try and fill, but I think with what we have, we're going to do okay.
Forrest and other young players have mentioned how welcome they feel when they come into the clubhouse or get called up. How important is it to a team when your best players don't have the ego and are like that?
No, they are. They're all I think they're in there rooting for those guys and pulling for them and going to help them any way they can, and because they know they're part of our success. If we're going to be successful, we're going to need those guys, and you don't do any good alienating them. You might as well welcome them in and do the best you can to help them be successful. That's because if they're successful, we're all going to be. So I think our guys realize that, and the main goal is to win. Those guys want to win any way they can, and like I say, I don't ever hear anybody, doing a moaning about, if somebody gets hurt. I mean, it's just part of the game, part of what we do, and it's just a chance for somebody else to have a great opportunity.
Seems like you guys, your veterans, have been doing that for a while now, since Acuna and that class came up, and Freddie and all those guys kind of welcomed them and feel comfortable right away.
No, I think it's good. Yeah, no, it's good, and there's some really good, when a guy gets called up, and especially a young player, I mean, there's some, the guys that are in there, they've been doing it, they've been successful, they know how to do it, they're professional, they love playing the game, they like to work, and they see that, and guys, you know, it's an easy place to assimilate into, I think, and plus the fact that they're really good people. You know, you're talking about high-quality guys as far as their makeup and just the people that they are.
Austin, I imagine there's seeing him break through. It's probably there's some relief and happiness, satisfaction. What kind of for you is like the emotion you feel strongest watching him play? You know, the way he's capable.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been through it with him every year. You know, I've just always admired and respected how he allows himself to get through those things. Not easy. It's not easy to do that. But, you know, he's had struggles before, and I think he knows he always comes through. I mean, he always ends up righting the ship, and you know, hopefully this is just a sign of him getting hot and you know, being more of himself the rest of the year. So, but, you know, I figured that he's going to come out of it at some point in time. He's been doing this too long. He's been too successful, and it's good to see.
Was there some relief with Waldrop that it wasn't anything worse and it was just
Yeah,
as you guys
yeah.
imagined?
Yeah, it was just, you know, the inflammation, they said, and it's, you know, you just never know when they get checked out what's going to come back. So I'm glad for him too, because I know he enjoys competing and pitching, and you know, I guarantee you, he didn't want to have a delay in this education process that he's going through this year. Hopefully, he'll look back on it and it'll be a good thing.
Have you been able to just kind of tell him, look, if you are hurt, and like, you know, if you made a couple starts, please tell us.
Yeah, I mean, we tell them that in spring training even. It doesn't do any good. Try and, you know, there are times, and they know their bodies, there are times you know, there's going to be sore and you're going to hurt. And I said, the only time you ever feel good in this game is the first day of spring training, because every time after that you got aches and pains and, you know, something's probably not right. But, you know, there's a difference. But, you know, I think it's good when they get it checked out, and as they, again, get experience and all, they'll be able to differentiate between the different areas and pain and hurt and all that kind of stuff.
No one better than Brian Snicker. He is always just so real in what he has to say, and he has weathered so many storms. He just, you know, as unbothered as he might be, and I don't know that he is, he's certainly not showing it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you want from your manager, because he's the one leading the troops. And quite frankly, I understand why they've been able to do so well, you know, under him, because look at how he handles things as they come, you know. It's probably one of those things, you know, you just get wiser as you get older, and he's unbothered. But the Braves certainly do have injuries right now. They certainly have or are going through some kind of a slum, and let's just see, you know, what comes of it, and hopefully they can bounce back like they have in years past.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of injuries, we've got about 2 minutes. Atlanta United is just kind of going through it.
Well, I mean, yes, they are absolutely going through it, but beyond the injury, we talked about it yesterday, it happened over the weekend. Losing Gigi will certainly be felt by this club in every sense of
Got
the way.
$10 million out of it, according to Fabrizio Romano, though.
Okay.
So,
and they can bring somebody else on as a designated player for this roster, because they have a spot that's open now. But it certainly, to me, wouldn't feel good to let go. You know, it's the name of the game, right? They've let go of so many of their key players who've moved on and to bigger and better things. And it's no offense to Atlanta United. It's just part of the game, right? I mean, Liga MX is, you know, that's a great league to play in. I mean, that's an upgrade for Gigi. I'm sure he's very, very happy about going to Mexico. And
it's been in the works for weeks, months at this point.
Yeah, so Club Azul gets a heck of a player. I'm sure that he's very happy to go, especially after the season that they've had. But yeah, they are on the road tomorrow at DC United. Some guys, you know, are playing for the national team. They're their respective national teams right now. Injuries, Gigi, you know, new manager. There's just so much going on with the club right now. It's going to be tough to turn it around, but that's certainly what they're hoping for.
All right, what's on your mind?
Hey, Matt Ryan, Arthur Blank going into the Ring of Honor this year in September or October, so that'll be something Falcons fans can enjoy. You?
What's on my mind? MLS, please respect the international break. You should not be playing games. Oh, my God.
All right. Listen to the woman. Have a good night, guys.